Hi, this is Dee, and you're listening to my podcast, Let Me Clear My Throat. In tonight's podcast, I am going to talk about self-harm. I had looked up some stuff on the internet because sometimes, like I've spoke about in the past, I like to get, additional information and stuff. And sometimes I print out worksheets and different things for references and stuff. But in doing so, I thought to myself, what is the biggest resource? And then I thought of myself. And I say this because I've been very candid in my past podcasts where I am a self-harm survivor and a suicidal victim survivor. And I was actually thinking about some stuff that kind of like one of those aha light bulb moments, like, aha, I never thought of it that way. And I get a lot of those a lot of times, but in this one in particular was a moment that I felt was something that actually inspired this particular version of my podcast. So to start off with, I guess, I would like for you to ask yourself, what to you is self-harm? When somebody says, I self-harmed myself, or I'm a surviving self-harm victim survivor, what comes to mind? What is the first thing you think about? Now take that information, that thought, and ask yourself, are you a self-harm survivor? And then I'm going to put a little twist on it. But before I do, I want to say this. If you are a self-harm survivor, my heart goes out to you. It is not a joke. It is not funny. And it is something very serious and worth acknowledging. And I pray wholeheartedly for you. There are different support numbers. 988 is the suicide prevention hotline and helpline. But here in the United States, we also have the self-harm hotline. It's 741-741. If I'm not mistaken, I have to look on my phone. I believe, I don't have to look on my phone. I have it here on my computer. I want to say that is actually a text where you can send a text and then someone calls you. Let me pull that up real quick. I'm going to pause this real quick so you don't have to keep hearing me say, Okay, I'm back. Did you miss me? Probably didn't even notice I was gone. I'm glad I did look into this. Because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So according to this website that I went to, it's called crisistextline.org. 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 This is a crisis line that helps with different forms of problems you may have, whether it is to go to for questions, venting, if you're self-harm, if you've got mental illness, if you've got questions, suicidal. It's a variety of different things. Feel free to go check out this website. They have a lot of resources. If you go into the tab, and at the top, if you pull it up at the top, it says there's a part of there that says where you can choose resources, and they have so many resources on there for so many different variety of things. Definitely would be something to check out. But it says need to vent, or obviously you're having a crisis or self-harm moment or whatever the case may be for you. It says to text HOME, HOME, to 741-741, and it will connect you with a volunteer crisis counselor. It's confidential, 24/7. You just text them and they'll get back with you. They have different text numbers if you're out of the United States, and in different states in the United States, actually. The U.S. obviously is text 741-741. California, you text 686-868. So it's 686-868. In the UK, you text 852-58. 852-58. And in Ireland, you text 508-08. That's 508-08. And these are the only text numbers that they have on this list that I'm looking at. But obviously, feel free to go to this website. You can also send them messages and stuff. They have a lot of resources and a lot of information on here. It also has where, if you would like to volunteer as a crisis counselor, and they also do have different jobs and stuff too there that actually career, pay career, whatever, but employment. So they do have that on there as well. But check out this website. I was actually very impressed with it. I also saved it and put it onto my my Facebook page that I have, and posted it on there as well for references. So anyway, sorry, got a little sidetracked, but for a good cause. Anyway, so in going back to where we were at, I wanted to give that information first and foremost before we went any further, because self-harm is very serious. And I might sound a little uppity up and a little giddy and a little laughing and making it sound like my mentality of the sincerity of this situation in this subject doesn't sound like somebody like that would be a self-harm survivor. But I don't know. I don't know how it's coming across. All I know is that I don't want it to come across that way, for one. But I have come a long way in my journey. And if you've listened to my podcast so far, I hope that you have got an understanding of how sincere I am when I do my podcast. And my heart goes out to everyone, because everybody is going through something, and people handle different scenarios and situations and their feelings in different ways. And some things are not healthy, and some things we may feel like we don't look at ourselves as a self-harm survivor or a self-harm victim. And I say that because when I was laying down, going to bed, and of course I can't ever turn my head off. It doesn't have the same hours as I do. But I was laying here thinking about, how far along I've come and stuff, and thinking about my podcast, and I try to think of different things, and a lot of times it just pops in my head of different scenarios, and then I have to decipher, which one I want to do or how I want to approach it, because sometimes I have found that sometimes certain subjects, this one in particular, I found on my end, is not necessarily looked in a variety of different ways. Sometimes I feel like when somebody says something, and it's just, people are just used to the way that is. It just becomes matter of fact. Like, this is the way it is. And nobody seems to, and I say this with respect, hypothetically, using just words, nobody seems to want to challenge or express or think or consider or understand that not everything is a matter of fact. Because People are raised differently. People have different beliefs. People have different visions. People have different experiences. They have different vocabularies. They have different points of understanding. There's a whole slew of different things. But it comes down to there are no right and wrong answers in a world that there's so much uncertainty in. And this is my opinion. We have been told so much over, I'll use my life as an example. I have been told so much over my life that it has been taught to be a certain way as a part of my my identity, my molding, my shaping, my knowledge, my upbringing, my sculpture of my mentality and my personality and my opinions and my point of views of things. And it becomes a part of the reflection of you. In this case, the reflection of me. And then we get to the point where we don't, or I don't, let me say me, because I don't want to put words into everybody else's minds and heads. I'm going to say me. And if I say, anything different, please reference it back to me, because that's what I mean it as. I have been told so much through my life. And I have been made to believe things, and I have been taught certain ways, and, certain things. People have different etiquette for certain things. They have different rules. They have different understandings, different upbringings, different survival skills, if you will, different the ways they enunciate words, different ways that they spell words. I was having a field day with that the other day. with myself. Some things just don't make sense to me on how we spell things. And that's probably a whole podcast in itself. But, everything, we should be able to question. But yet we are told not to, more or less. Because we're I'm going to say, okay, I know I'm probably getting jumbled up here. So, in school, I'm taught a certain direction. Depending on the teacher and the style that the teacher teaches reflects on my ability to interpret their intention of education. Does not necessarily mean that my learning ability is on that same level as that presentation of the teacher, because everybody has different learning abilities and learning mechanisms and ways. A good teacher, in my opinion, is able to adapt and utilize and understand and empathize with each child and their learning technique. Now, I know that, and I'm not picking on teachers, this is just, I'm going with this. And I know teachers are very, very, very walking a thin line of their abilities of being able to individualize each child, because there are many factors going on, many directions. Education is not like it used to be. But there's also a lot of different factors and times too in this generation as well. And my hearts go out to teachers. I mean, I applaud you. But depending on how you are taught and how you learn reflects how you perceive that information, to be able to then restore it in your mind, to be able to use it at a different level of a different time. Sometimes some things I'm like, when am I ever going to use I used to say algebra. That's not true, though, because I was a scientist and I did use algebra. So, but some things that we have learned also were not true. Like, for instance, I learned that Columbus discovered America. But then we celebrate Columbus discovered America. Let me rephrase that. But Magellan supposedly discovered America first. Columbus gets the credit. However, there was Indians here and other other forms of life in America that I don't think was ever given the right justification of acknowledgement, if you will. So, but this is my thing. So all my life, growing up in school, we celebrated Columbus Day. Columbus discovered America. But in my history books, Magellan discovered America. Columbus got the credit. But yet then we're told how there's Indians and other different lives and stuff, if you will, in America. So there's a lot of controversial there on, okay, which one am I supposed to learn? So my thing is going with this is I'm taught one thing, then it's contradicted. I'm supposed to believe and celebrate a certain person discovering America. But yet I also know that that's a lie because I'm taught that this person actually did. We just acknowledge that this person did. So we're giving credit to somebody where credit is not due and not acknowledging the person that it belongs to. So the information I was given was wrong. And I know maybe they don't, so what does this have to do with self-harm? I'm getting there. So you take this information and you go and you grow up with this. Then you're told something else. We went over this before. The sky is blue. No, not always. First of all, it depends if you're colorblind and what level of colorblindness you are, because different levels of colorblindness exist on different people. So their shades of certain colors are different. So what may look blue to one person doesn't look blue to another. And a variety of different colors as well. Some see a certain off tone, some see certain brightnesses, some see different shades. It just depends. Nobody's vision and their perception of the color is the same. They get the general ideal of it, but everybody's perception is different. Because, like for instance, my dad went to the store. He got a bucket of paint. The guy that worked at the store told him, this is gray. And he's like, that's what I want gray. And the guy said, well, this is gray. And so he says, okay, I'll take it, it's gray. I go in there, he paints the wall, and I'm like, well, that's a pretty shade of green. He says, gray. Dude, that's green. The guy told me it's gray. Well, the guy is colorblind. That is green. So that, and I'm not laughing at the guy if, colorblind, but it depends on whose perception was. And I looked at him, I said, well, the guy says it's gray. What color do you see it as? I don't know. Okay. So it just depends, because now, I probably just confused the man. And some people see it differently. Maybe to some people it was gray. And I say this because maybe I'm the one with the problem. No, couldn't be me. My daughter later on wanted to get some paint to paint the bedroom. She says, I want to paint the bedroom. I want to paint it gray. I said, well, that's supposed to be gray. She said, that's green. I said, that's what I said. I said, but he was told it's gray. And she said, that's green. And she says, I want gray. And I said, okay. So she goes to the store. She comes back with a color. And she paints it. And I come in. I said, so when are you going to paint the wall? She goes, I did. I said, that's the exact same color that you painted. It was what it was. I couldn't tell no difference. So it might have been the lighting in the bedroom that was maybe giving it a cast of a different color. I don't know. But the point of it is that we don't always see things the same. So then you're brought up more. And people's different worth ethics are different. The way they raise their kids are different. The way that they handle their emotions and their thoughts and their relationships. Everything is different. Nothing, and I'm saying this with respect, hypothetically, nothing is the same. It might appear to have the same perception of appearance, if you will. But there's something different in all of it. So then we are left to question, but then we're not supposed to question. So, you're taught, respect your elders. And this might have been for my generation. But you would not think to question a teacher. And I say back in my generation. Now, today, the teachers are probably always challenged. I'm sure it's a lot more difficult now with Google and all the other e-learning stuff and technology. Back in my day, we had highlighters, the overhead projector, and real books. But nowadays are different than before, obviously. But in my generation, I wouldn't even think to question a teacher. Because I am being taught something I didn't know. So I'm taking the value of this educated person, this adult figure, to teach me something appropriately right. So I would not think to question on whether or not the information that I'm given is wrong. So then as I grow up, and I develop my mentality and my perceptions and my opinions and my everything that, me as a person evolving and growing, this whole time, I'm going to still interpret whatever it was I was taught as a part of who I am today, especially if I know no different. So if somebody out there is not taught that the sky is blue, and the sky's not blue. The sky's a variety of beautiful colors. Depends on where you live, what time of day it is, and depends if my mom doesn't see the sky, so to her it's black. My mom is blind. But they're different hues of light, different prisms of the way the sun reflects and the way it portrays on the different perspective of a shadow or through a cloud or casting or whatever the case may be. It reflects off of an object. It really just depends on how you're looking at it from where you're at. But hypothetically, let's say Group A is taught that the sky is blue. And one person in Group A was absent. And then they come back. And that person that was absent, let's say hypothetically, was never taught that the sky was blue. Maybe this is a bad example, but I'm going with it. So they grow up thinking, okay, maybe it's like a gray color, or they're learning their color wheel. So then they decide what color the sky is based off their learning of their color wheel on how they perceive what the colors are that they look at. So, or hold on, maybe that's not a good way to. Maybe I'm confusing. Okay, let's just say a colorblind person. We'll just do that. They don't need to be absent. They need to be in school. All right, we'll change the subject there. So you got these kids sitting in school. One of them's colorblind. Maybe they don't know they're colorblind. Or maybe they do. Doesn't matter. They don't see the sky the same color. So the other kids are taught that the sky is blue. And that kid is taught that the sky is blue. So if they don't know what to compare it to, they're going to think that color is blue. So when they look at different colors that are that color, they're going to think that color is blue because it's the same color as the sky. But then they might get confused. Let's say hypothetically they say the sky is gray. And then they see something and somebody's like, oh, well, that's gray. And it's going to confuse you. Just like the gray and green wall. Different people looking at it saying different colors. It depends on what your perception of it is and what you're taught. But however, you have the right to question everything if you don't understand it. And even if you don't understand it, you have the right to question it. You have the right to question why you probably are feeling like I'm talking in circles and this has nothing to do with self-harm. Because I'm going to tell you. When you are raised and you grow up, whether you raise yourself or somebody else raises you, or both, you're taught and you are mentally challenged, if you will. And I don't mean that in respect of you're mentally challenged. You're challenged, somebody challenges your mentality. We'll put it that way. Somebody challenges your mentality and insults you, debates with you, puts you down, bullies you. Maybe because they're taught this way, maybe they're not. The point of it is when you grow up and you have a perception of an identity a certain way, because this is what you're taught your whole life, you know nothing different. Because it becomes a part of who you are. It becomes a part of your perception of yourself. It becomes a part of the shade of color that you are. It becomes a shade of your point of view and your opinion and your perception and your beliefs and your morals and your perspective of life and your religion, and the list goes on and on. Everything that makes you you is determined and dictated during your growth. And I say your growth, you're going to be continuing to grow your whole life. Everything is dictated, manipulated, written in circles, upside down, in triangles and squares. That's like somebody telling you to find a corner in a circle. Some people would challenge that. Let me find it. I'll find one. And that's okay. But to somebody else, they'd be like, that's just ridiculous. There is no corner in a circle. Well, that's your point of view. Because you are taught that a circle is round. There's no corners in a circle. I guess it really depends on how much you want to dissect that circle. Because if you zoom in on a computer big enough, and the pixels and all the way down into it, are you going to eventually find what resembles some sort of a square blot, if you will? And that would be the corner? It depends. It really depends on how you want to look at it. How far, for argument's sake, let's say there's no corner in a circle. But now, in today's technology, we do everything. We're learning now in our lives with today's technology that we have to question everything. Everything. Technology is taking away everything. It's taking away. They're using technology for our money. They're using technology for our way of life. They're using technology for our family outings and togetherness, if you will. They're using and using it against us. They are taking technology and deciding what our fashions and our appearance should look like. They're taking technology and having it drive cars for us. So you got driveless. There's nobody in the front seat driving you. You have technology that is taking your order at a restaurant. They have technology that is answering the phone. Be connected to a live agent. Well, I wanted a live agent to begin with. I don't need a dead agent. I need a live agent. But they're talking about technology. They are using technology to give you personal companionship. They are taking technology to be actors. They're taking technology to make movies. You won't even need actors after a while. Just like singing people, they're taking technology to do musical stuff and singing and all this stuff. You're not going to need a singer. There's going to be computer-generated people. They're taking technology to make you think that something is there, and you got augmented reality, and you got virtual reality. You got all this different reality but our own. So if they're taking all of this technology and they're using it against us, where does that leave us? Where is it leaving us? Everything that we have been taught, they are now contradicting it against us. That does something to someone. It makes you feel like your whole life is a lie. But then at the same time, you're questioning whose reflection you're looking at in that mirror that you're holding. Because everything that you have been taught, everything that you have been everything you have learned, everything that has been generated on you, whether it be through a person, a live person, through school, through growing up in adulthood, your parents, your relatives, people you don't know, society, technology. They have tried to be, I guess, set the foundation, if you will, of what is acceptable and what is not. What appearance is acceptable and what is not. What kind of way you set your hair, what's in style, what's not in style. You need to be this thin because this is what this model cannot eat, and they got to walk the runway because this is what everybody needs to look like. You know what? The average person likes to eat. And I bet that model would love to have a cheeseburger or a piece of pizza or some ice cream or whatever. But the thing of it is that as society, we are taught that that is supposed to be the way we're supposed to look. And we're unacceptable and less of worthy, if you will, if we don't look like that. If we go somewhere and let's say hypothetically, okay, I'm gonna take the Oscars for it because that just happened. I'm gonna use that. So we got Adam Sandler walking in there with his appearance. I applaud him. I do. And I say that in the sense of I don't know what his reasoning for that was, but I'm going to use it as a spinoff on the way I take it, because I don't watch TV and follow politics and all that stuff. I really don't. I looked at that, the same with the one guy who was chewing bubblegum. This is my thing. Are we so obsessed with dictating what is right and wrong and our ability of our appearance as a human being that it is so worthy of being banned and socially unacceptable to be a human being in a normal setting? I understand some things are like, oh, let's dress up, People's clothing should not matter on the perception of them as a human being. If somebody's got a piece of gum in their mouth, for one, and I'm just going to say this. I don't know what reasoning he had for his gum in his mouth, and honestly, I could care less. This is my thing, and this is coming around in a circle because if you know me, I talk around in a circle. But it all has to do with the same thing. It really does, in my opinion. If somebody's got a piece of gum in their mouth, either one, maybe he, and I'm not going to say, maybe the person, I'm not going to say him because I don't want somebody to run off with this and saying, this was said. No, I'm going to change that. So say somebody is at an outing and they have gum in their mouth. Maybe one, they want to chew a piece of gum. I mean, two, maybe they're trying to make sure they don't have bad breath. And they're getting cotton mouth sitting there for so long, and they can't have nothing to drink or whatever, so they're trying not to get cotton mouth sitting there, their mouth getting all dry. Maybe they are trying to quit smoking. Maybe it's a nicotine gum. Or maybe they can't go out and smoke, so they're chewing a nicotine gum. Maybe they're doing it for political reason or attention. Maybe they forgot they had gum in their mouth and didn't think about it. There's a variety of different ways that can be interpreted. My thing is that worthy of somebody being talked down on because they had gum in their mouth? In what was deemed as an socially acceptable moment? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just talking in circles, and maybe I am. But my thing is who gives other people the right to be so judgmental on other people? Period. And that brings me to my next point. Taking it back to when I asked you, somebody says, I'm a self-harm survivor. What was the first thing that came to your mind on what definition a self-harm survivor would be? Would it be someone that cuts themselves? Someone that burns themselves? Someone that picks themselves? I was a picker. I've got scars on my arms, my neck, different parts of my body. Would subconsciously pick at myself. I had bruise from one end of my chest to the other, where I just pinch it and keep pinching it, and subconsciously, and my whole chest was nothing but a big bruise. Someone who hits themselves. Someone that brands themselves. Someone that self-medicates. Someone who does anything that harms themselves, basically thus self-harming. Now, then I also asked, do you consider yourself a self-harm victim, a self-harm survivor? And you'd be like, some may be like, no, I've never done any of that. Okay, well, the next thing I'm going to ask you, and this is where I came into, oh, I never thought of it that way. Self-harm is anything negative you do against yourself that hurts you. It doesn't have to be a physical act. So every time you have told yourself you hated yourself, every time you've said you're ugly, you're fat, you're worthless, nobody will want you, you're better off dead, why bother to try, you give up. Anything negative that you have said or thought about yourself is self-harm. It's self-harm. As many times I have looked in my mirror and I would cry, I hate myself. Nobody's going to want me. I'm worthless. I'm fat. I'm ugly. I'm stupid. The list goes on and on. I have said so many negative things to myself. That's self-harming me. Because I am reflecting everything that I have been taught and made to feel about myself and using it as a judgment to self-harm myself. They say that you're not supposed to judge people. You're not supposed to judge people. We judge ourselves all the time. We hurt ourselves more than what anybody else could ever hurt us. And realizing and counteracting all of that pain and all of those self-harm moments, if you will, into a positive reflection might actually show you a different perspective, of a different point of view, a vantage point, if you will, of the beautiful person you really are. And not all of the other things that you have been feeling. To be standing there or laying there or whatever it is, because you don't even need a mirror to self-harm yourself. Because sometimes you don't even want to look at yourself in the mirror because you're disgusted with what you see. That is self-harm. You don't have to take a knife. You don't have to take a pen or a fork or a lighter or a cigarette or whatever to brand yourself, cut yourself, pick at yourself, burn yourself, bang your head to the floor. I used to punch myself in the head and bang my head and hit myself and repeatedly. You don't have to do all that to be a victim of self-harm. It just takes one thought, not even spoken out loud, to be a self-harm victim. I never thought of it that way. But then when I did, it made sense to me. And people judge people all the time. It seems to be the way of acceptable life that is unacceptable. And you hear all these people, oh, don't be mean. People are all going through something, and then they are. But saying a statement like that should not even be a part of our acknowledgement. Because it should just be a given that we are just decent, considering people. We should not have to remind ourselves not to be assholes. We should just know not to be. But then we forget that while you might not say certain hateful and hurtful things to other people, you don't hesitate to say them and believe them in yourself. And little by little, you're one huge internal self-inflicted scar. How do you heal from that? How do you heal from that? The biggest scars in life that hurt the most, I have found, and I speak this from my own experience, are the ones that people don't even see. And they never will. And sometimes I realize that my scars have scars. Because sometimes you think that you're healing, and you get an open wound. And you don't realize it. And then you just start picking at that wound. And then it's festered again. And you got to start over and trying to heal it again. And sometimes you make it. what you feel like worse to where the scar is more noticeable, even if nobody can see it. It's killing you because it has grown so much that is killing you. It's got daggers in all the wrong places. And that's not a joke. When somebody looks at you and you tell them, if you, like with me for instance, when I tell somebody I'm a self-harm survivor, whatever they're thinking in their mind is not my problem. Their perception on my well-being of that comment is not my problem on the reflection of who I am as a person. And I say that because it's come a long way for me to say that. If I spent my whole time worrying about what everybody else thought about me, it takes me right back to the beginning again, doesn't it? It's okay to be you. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not look like everybody else. It's okay to chew gum. It's okay to not have the right words or the right etiquette or the right understanding. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to set an example. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be right. It's okay to feel good. It's okay to look at yourself and smile. It's okay to tell yourself you're pretty and you're smart and you're caring and you're outgoing and you're positive. It's okay for you to say, I'm glad I'm me. Because if somebody else was me, they'd probably really sure screw it up. Okay, maybe that's not nice to say, but nobody can be you any better than you. And don't say, well, that ain't much. It wouldn't take much to... No. Stop inflicting yourself. You are a beautiful masterpiece. You are imperfectly perfect the way you are. The key to it all is being able to look at your reflection and realize that it's you you're looking at and not what everybody and everything else has told you to look at. It's okay to be a survivor. It's not okay to believe otherwise. Because you deserve to be acknowledged and credited for you. Somebody else doesn't deserve to have the credit to be you. Any way, shape, or form. You're a human being. You are worthy. You're an individual. You are worth being alive. You are worth being acknowledged. You are worth being needed. You are worth being loved. You are worth being worth something because you are worth everything. If you unplug technology and plug it back in, you're just rebooting it. If a system goes down or their circuit has a glitch in it, if you will, Control Alt Delete, unplug, reset, reboot, whatever the case may be, upgrade it. Change the floppy disk in it. Some people don't know what a floppy disk is. But anyway, that might be the problem. We need a floppy disk. Because that's when technology was, bigger, but not so big. It seems that ever since our technology has gotten smaller devices, we've gotten too big for our bridges of our morals and what is actually humanly acceptable in a world that's trying to kill off humans. I am not a technology board. If I have a meltdown, or if I have a glitch, if you will, which sometimes can rhyme with bitch, you can't unplug me. If I'm hooked to a machine and you unplug me, 9 chances out of 10 it's because I'm going to die. I'm not a machine. I'm a human being. Technology is supposed to be used to save lives, not take somebody's life away from them. Your livelihood, your education, your you as a being, you as a person, your livelihood, your survival, how you take care of your family and your home and your life and pay for things. And if they replace everything with technology, mankind is not going to have any way of survival. And technology is going to get so ahead of us, it's going to be our biggest demise, because it's going to kill us off. And the more technology overlaps and pays for its advantages of putting money in the pockets of others that are higher society, if you will, of corporations. I got news for corporations. You're going to outgrow yourself so much to the point where you're going to be the most poorest people in the world, because you are going to take away the only livelihood of mankind. Nobody's going to be able to pay for your product to begin with, because nobody's going to be left. Technology is going to kill us off. It should only be used as survival, not as a detonator. And that is what's wrong with this world, in my opinion. We are so taught to be robotic that we're afraid to be individuals. And that should be acknowledged and addressed. And whoever deserves credit for that, I'm all for. Let's give that person credit, because they need to see exactly where this is going. It's not going to matter whether or not we're going to have somebody at the checkout line waiting on us, or whether or not we're going to be self-checkout and look around. There's nobody working there. No, they don't need to. They've got self-checkout. You're going to work for them while they put money in their pocket and take yours. Then you go to a restaurant. Everything's automated. Hey, pull up. I went to freaking White Castle. I get an automated person. I don't want an automated person. I want a human being. I want a human being. And I tried to tell the woman the automated thing what I wanted. She didn't understand me. So he gave me to a live agent. And he's like, did she take your order? No, she didn't understand me. No. The point of it is why are you taking manpower away? Why are people saying it's okay to not be a human being? You think that doesn't do something to somebody? Telling somebody, you're beautiful, you're a great person and all, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, because I need you to be an example of a replica I'm going to make of you, and then I'm going to do some fine-tuning to have it the way what we think your appearance should look like in society. You're telling my eyeballs what I'm supposed to train my brain on what something is acceptable and what is not. So if I'm taking a test and I have to choose between two colors, gray and green, and I'm colorblind, and it's my first time learning the color, which one do you think I'm going to choose if I've never been taught? That's the beauty of it. I could either take a chance and pick one and see if I'm right, or I can say, I don't know. Because if you don't know, you don't know. You might not realize that you are self-harming yourself because you have been made to believe that self-harm are only certain ways. It's a physical thing. It's somebody who is having a mental breakdown. It's somebody who is on drugs or alcohol, or somebody who is being wanting attention. No. People can look at my scars. To some people, it looks like I've been told it looks like I was in a fire, or a chemical fire, or some type of fire or something, because of my scars on my arm, and I got scars on my neck and stuff. And I even got some up in my hairline, and sometimes I mess with them because they are they extend up and they're like little bumps, but they're scars. I used to pull my hair. I used to punch myself in my head and my face. I used to just all kinds of stuff. Now, looking at my scars, one might not think I'm a self-harmer or a self-harm survivor. Oh, looks like you were in a fire. Yeah, my life caught me on fire. I was burning to death. I was dying, metaphorically. But that would be the perception somebody would see. When I was trying to, and it's not something, just stop doing it. No. Believe me, it's not that easy. I actually wrapped my arms in bandages, gauze, so I would not grab at my arms and pick subconsciously. And a little girl walked by. My daughter and I were at a Walmart. And a little girl, I heard her say to her mom, "What happened to her?" And her mom's like, "I don't know." She was talking about me. But nobody would know that I punched myself in my head, that I belittled myself in my mind, out loud, in the mirror, anywhere I could. Nobody would see that part. Those scars are not visible to the naked eye. So unless I tell somebody they're there, they wouldn't know. But yet you tell somebody they're there doesn't mean the perception is understood. Because unless you go through that level and acknowledge that pain, it's undescribable. I don't want to say you wouldn't know. It's just undescribable to explain. Even as a person who's went through it. I can't look at somebody and say, "Well, I don't see no visible scars. You can't tell me you're a self-harm survivor." I would not say that. Because you don't need scars to inflict a wound. Because that's how it starts. And sometimes you just don't even realize you're doing it because it's so second nature to you. It's a part of who you are. Because when you try to look at yourself, you don't see past the pain in your eyes. Because that's as far as your heart will take you. That is self-harm. And maybe I'm the only one that's ever thought of it this way. Maybe I'm not. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, you're a human being. You matter. We all make mistakes. We all say things wrong. We all get socially corrected. We all get our hair messed up. You know what, though? Me, I'm going to get sidetracked, but not. Speaking of hair messed up, I fixed my hair the other day, and I went outside, and the funniest thing, I stood in the front of that mirror for so long, because I'm very OCD about my bangs and stuff, very terribly. I will be done in a half an hour, but my bangs will take 5 hours. And I laugh, but it's true. But anyway, I went outside, and evidently, the wind thought, ooh, we're going to play beauty shop today, and we're going to fix your hair. And it did. So the wind fixed my hair the other day, and to some people, it might have looked a mess. And to other people, it might have been, oh, did you do something different with your hair? And to me, I'm thinking, you got jokes today, wind. I just went in there and fixed my hair. Not even going to bother doing it. No Aquanet for me. Different generation. I didn't know they sell Aquanet still. Because the wind didn't blow then. Your hair went up in sections and then went right back down. But all again, it's about the perception. To me, it was, you just undid what I just did. To somebody else, man, your hair is a mess. What happened to you? And to somebody else's, did you do something to your hair? I like it. Well, the wind ain't always going to blow that way to give me the same style. It's all about perception. But we need to remember who we're really looking at and what we're really looking through. Somebody once asked me, where's the very first place you ever saw me? My eyes. The very first place I ever saw you was with my eyes. Sometimes it takes one person to be themselves, to show the rest of the world what it feels like to be human and it be okay. Because it takes us as human beings to unplug technology before it unplugs us and kills us all. don't need somebody to come in and self-harm me. And I sure in the hell don't need them to make me feel like it's okay to do it to myself. And then think it's okay to replace me with a version of me that they think will be better. I am proud to be me. And I am proud. I am proud of me. And if you're going through something, my heart goes out to you. 988 is a suicide helpline prevention. They have resources there, anonymous. You can call anonymously. They have people that can train, skilled, and educated to help you. People that care and will listen. 741-741. You can text home. Be connected to a live agent. A live counselor, not agent. A live counselor. There are people that care. There are still people in this world. And if I have to pick and choose on whether to let technology live in this world or mankind to live in this world, who do you think I'm going to unplug? And on that, I'm going to close out. And I hope that this makes sense, but also too, I really honestly do pray that you believe that it's okay to feel like a human being that's worth something. And it's okay to look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself a compliment. For every negative thing that you say, counteract it with a positive. Be like, man, I'm ugly. Or you could say, man, I really probably should have chose a different type of eyeshadow because I think blue eyeshadow went out in the 80s. But maybe it's coming back. I don't know. But it's not necessarily complimentary to my reflection of what I'm wanting to portray. Or however you want to say it. I don't know. I'm just kind of grabbing at straws too. But because I don't always have the right things to say. And I know that. And I'll be the first one to tell you that. And if I know I've done wrong, or if I know I've said something wrong, and I know that I'm wrong, and I feel that I'm wrong, I will own it. I don't have to have my nose rubbed in it. And I don't have to pay for it for the rest of my life. I got plenty enough scars for that. But I will own it. And I hope that everybody finds a way to be able to get to the point where you can actually make funny faces at yourself in the mirror and laugh and giggle and talk to yourself and tell yourself that you're silly. But you're not stupid. You're far from stupid. And on that, I'm going to go. If you haven't checked out my other podcasts, please feel free to do so. I have a Pobean channel and a YouTube channel at D Let Me Clear My Throat. And 988 Suicide Prevention Helpline, or text HOME, HOME, to 741-741. And also check out the website that I spoke of earlier. They have a lot lot of resources and information. And if you want to participate in volunteering to become a counselor, they also have information on that as well. And on that, I'm going to close out, and I hope everybody has a safe and blessed, beautiful evening. Good night.